same level. So I think reaching out to them in the residence halls by utilizing the VP for Student Life, connecting with RHA and building that strong relationship to have more programs coming to them, because bringing the AS to people will kind of create that habit and kind of stir that want, and then bringing return customers and having people get more involved. I think understanding the different interests and really advertising to those, so utilizing like social media and methods that people want to be communicated with, I think is important. I think providing resources and places for people to feel safe to communicate and to kind of push their limits and challenge themselves and gain a Western experience. Thank you, sir.
No, you're good. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'd actually like to start this off by saying that we all have been freshmen and sophomores on campus, but I actually am a sophomore on campus right now, and I believe that that definitely gives me an advantage when it comes to reaching out to first and second year students on campus. It's been over 15 years since the Associated Students has had a president that isn't a fourth or fifth year student. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that a lot of what the Associated Students does and a lot of the people that the Associated Students reaches are the same groups of juniors and seniors on campus. So I think it's really, really important that when we look at what's going on campus, we're looking at how can we meet students where they are, how can we provide more programming in different residence hall locations, and how can we reach out to students that are freshmen that aren't living on campus. Making sure that we are trying new things when it comes to reaching those students, trying to provide more programming that's entry-level programming. So instead of some of the more advanced stuff that the ROP offices or the ESC put on towards the end of the year, making sure that at the beginning of the year we do, you know, the Women's Center could put on like Entry to Feminism, like Feminism 101, events like that, providing easy ways for students to get involved and creating events that are non-threatening when a student looks at the poster. Because as a freshman, if you're looking at a poster that's talking about this really amazing speaker coming to speak, you may not have any context for who that person is. But if you see a big poster that says, here, come here to learn more about how to make campus safe, or learn more about feminism, learn more about things going on campus, it makes it really, really easy for a student to say, okay, that's something I'm interested in, and then, you know, begin to attend Associated Students events.
Thank you, candidates.
My name is Patrick McGraw. I'm an environmental policy major, and my question concerns another referendum that's on the ballot, which is regarding the Student Senate. And so my question is, what is your stance on this referendum, and if it fails, what do you plan to do with the Student Senate?
Oh, this question will be answered by Morgan first.
Thank you. I think Student Senate, based on like resources, there are plenty other opportunities for students to get involved and to feel like they have a resource. And so I think providing an area for more like marketing outreach, because I think that was an avenue for students to advocate on their own behalf and connect with the board of directors. But I think that there's other routes that can be strengthened and contribute more to kind of meeting the needs of students. Looking more specifically at kind of my suggestion for marketing, I think marketing and outreach is an important piece, connecting with those first and second year students, but then also maintaining the momentum of connecting with third and fourth year students, because even if you're a fourth year student, you still have needs and you still have things that you want to be supported in, and this would be an avenue for you to connect. So strengthening committees by advertising those, connecting with residence halls, getting more people involved, and having a diverse group of individuals that are involved in those committees, because a lot of times we see people that are involved in like 3 or 4 committees, which is awesome that they're involved, but we want to open the door for more individuals to feel like they have a voice and speak on their own behalf. Thanks, Patrick.
So I'm actually really, really interested to see what the students are going to say about the Student Senate. I think that it's important that when we look at the Student Senate, we look at the really good things that it's done for our associated students in the past. We've had a lot of previous board members come through the Student Senate. We've had a lot of students gain an entry-level involvement with the Student Senate, and a lot of students have gained a lot by being a part of the Student Senate. So I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that it was created for a reason, and it definitely had served a very strong purpose on our campus. That being said, when the board last year put it on a hiatus and we were evaluating different ways that we could have a Student Senate on campus and different ways that it could interact with the board of directors, we were just having trouble trying to find a feasible alternative to the Student Senate. So I think it's really, really going to depend a lot on what the students say, because obviously if the students don't approve, language in the affirmative or negative, if the student senate is not removed from the bylaws for next year, it's definitely going to be something that the board is going to have to work with to try and find a way that we can incorporate a student senate into our structure, because this year when we looked at it, there wasn't the necessary end goal of having a student senate. It was exploring all options, but if the students vote to keep it, then we have to keep it, and we have to figure out how to make that work with our organization.
Return.
Sure. Thank you, Patrick, for your question. I'm also very interested in seeing how this referendum is going to go, because I think the majority of the students who are voting this year are going to say, in my opinion, they might be like, student senate, what's that, you know? So it's very frustrating for some students who are so dedicated to have a part in an organization which has such limited power, that has such an underrepresented voice on its campus. And if we can, if student senate is removed from the bylaws, then we need to find other ways for students, more effective ways for students to voice their opinions, hold the board accountable for our actions, and have a decision-making role in our process. So other ways, maybe perhaps should it fail or should it be removed, is to have our board meetings better advertised. What time, say that, you know, what time they are, when they are, to where they are, excuse me, and to encourage people to come. Our current AS website, I've gone round and round in circles in it looking for just the simple documents, and if we cannot say, hey, this is the name of the document, this is what it does, and this is where the next board meeting is, in a more visible, like huge way on the website, then students aren't going to see it, and students aren't going to know what student senate is unless we.
Thank you very much for your answer. And I want to remind everyone, please make sure you do speak up so we can all hear.
Thank you all so much. Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee Galloway. I study politics, philosophy, and economics. And I currently serve as the Associate Students Vice President for Governmental Affairs. So my question for the three candidates today is, do you support the Legislative Action Fund referendum? Why? And would you be willing to actively campaign for it in this upcoming week and a half?
And that question will be answered by Josie first.
So yes, I definitely support the LAF referendum. And this is something that I support for a lot of different reasons, one of which is I've worked very closely with Kaylee this last year over planning a lot of the different big events that have happened on campus. Directly was involved with the voter registration, directly helped plan Viking Lobby Day. And I've seen her struggle with trying to allocate enough money to all of these events to be able to do what we can do for students on campus. It's a relatively low input for students. It's $1 a quarter for a really, really high return on investment. Representation at the local, state, and federal level, which is something that's amazing for our ability to advocate for higher education costs to decrease, advocate for other really, really important things for students on our campus. It gives us a lot of political power, and we can bring more students down to Olympia or bring students to DC to lobby on behalf of our students on campus. And this is something actually that I've been promoting on almost all of my whenever I've talked to students and have been asked about this, it's something where I've definitely spoken to a lot of the advantages that we receive from passing this. So it's something that I've been advocating for and would love to continue to advocate for in the next week.
Go ahead.
All right. So thank you, Kaylee, for your question. And I want to first, so for the students in the audience who might not know what the LAF is going to be, so currently when we register for classes, there's a little bubble that comes up that says, would you like to donate $2 to the Legislative Action Fund? And sometimes students don't even know what that is. Students don't know where those $2 are going to go. So the first thing I would say is to raise awareness on what that fund is, how to participate, and how to benefit from those $2 that you give every quarter, if you give them. With that being said, when I interviewed Kaylee on when this referendum was coming to the board, before it was a referendum, I interviewed Kaylee on what it was like to plan a budget on such an uncertain amount of money, because you can never accurately predict how many students are going to click yes and how many students are going to click no, especially from quarter to quarter. And so I think that's important to, again, make sure that people know what it is, where the money is going to go, and how to benefit from that. I personally don't really have an opinion on this. It almost seems as if to take that $2 without clicking the box is to take something without asking for it. But also it's a mutual benefit that every student can benefit from if they have the awareness and the knowledge and the accessibility to that. So thank you.
I also support a referendum. I think that it'll strengthen the operations of what you're trying to do. Specifically with Kaylee, there was a time that she had to dip into operational enhancement to better support the efforts advocating for student needs. And so a stronger budget would not only impact the number of students that are able to lobby, but also the operations as a whole. So there will be more support staff, they'll have more resources to meet the needs of students, to increase outreach and connect students more with what they're trying to do. So they will have a voice in this whole process. I know budgets and I know budgetary implications, and with travel costs increasing and a lot of the other things that we're going to see increasing, it's going to impose a difficult time to plan these large trips, because these large trips take a lot of funds and a lot of resources and a lot of time. So with more funds, it'll smoothen the process and we'll ultimately reach our end goal. So yes, I do support.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you for your question.
Bless
This
you.
next question will be answered by Annika first. Zoom tight, everyone. Go ahead.
All right. Hey everybody, my name is Patrick Stickney. I'm a Fairhaven political science student. And so the question that I'm going to ask is, we have the Washington Student Association at the state level, and we have the United States Student Association at the federal level. And different people have different amounts of experience with the organization. The USSA is is the oldest, largest, and most inclusive student organization in the nation, and is based out of DC. Would you support becoming a dues-paying member with USSA and expand our federal involvement at the federal level?
Of course I would. I think the answer to that is simple, and if personally I would, of course, I would support having more federal level involvement. It's too often that we limit ourselves to the community that we're in right now, to the state that we're in, or even this bubble called campus in the actual city of Bellingham. So if another way I would support that is by having, again, more awareness on what these organizations are. I mean, some of the students in here might not even know what that is. What about the students out there? So, and in raising more awareness, we can get more students to become opinionated and knowledgeable, and perhaps even involved in organizations like that, directly or indirectly. So, yeah, paying of the dues. I mean, like, why not? You know.
Can you restate the last part of your question?
Yeah, would you support becoming a Western becoming a dues-paying member with USSA and increasing our involvement at the federal level?
So currently, as part of like WSA, we are a part of USSA and we do pay those dues. And so, I mean, I've seen a lot of, or a large impact on our ability to advocate for student needs at multiple levels, because there's a lot of resources that we are able to connect with and to build our advocating efforts. I think that it'll provide a stronger voice, because if we have more people and more resources and have a stronger front, then we're a hard force to be reckoned with. And if we ask for something, it's gonna happen, because we want it and we have the knowledge and the experience, and we know how to ask, and we have that end goal. So yes, I do support USSA and continuing those efforts of advocating for student needs.
So I would absolutely love for Western to become direct members of the United States Student Association, and I'm actually going to provide some context for that. Like Morgan mentioned, we do have membership with USSA through our membership with WSA. Unfortunately, there's been some conflict within WSA this year, and it's looking like Washington Student Association will not be direct members of USSA next year. And if we do want representation at the federal level next year, we're going to have to become involved with USSA. So I think that that's key number one for why we need to become involved. That being said, the Washington Student Association and Western have become key players in the United States Student Association. This year, I was lucky enough to attend a USSA conference, and was lucky enough to watch actually Kaylee Galloway win Organizer of the Year for the entire country in an organization of organizers. So that, I think, is something that's really important to highlight. Beyond that, though, Washington Student Association was actually the Student Association of the Year, and our WSA federal representative, Jessie Spinney, who sits on the Washington Student Association exec, was also the exec member of the year for that board. So Washington plays a really strong role in the power that USSA holds, which means that a lot of what USSA lobbies for has a direct relationship with what Western wants out of federal lobbying.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you for your
Thank you
question.
all.